Hey guys, today I'm going to try to build an epic epoxy and wood desktop. And I'm going to do it using this 300-year-old reclaimed heart pine. Check out the growth rings on this heart pine beam. Well over 200 years old. And this beam was recovered from a barn built over 100 years ago. So let's get crazy. I gotta tell you, cedar has nothing on heart pine. Get a whiff of that, just get a whiff. It's amazing. If somebody hasn't put this in a candle yet, they really should. It's just, I love it. About 20 years ago, I built all the interior doors for a guy that lives near me, and unfortunately about a year ago his house caught on fire. And because he had so much heart pine in the house, AKA fat lighter, man, it just went up like a tinder box. Oh, shoes. Almost had some quality content there whenever I about flipped the whole sheet over. If you're like me and you work out of your garage and your driveway, or if you have a small shop, it's really handy to have the track saw and a table saw, because with the track saw I can cut everything, the sheet goods down to a manageable size, and then come make the fast, small, repeatable cuts on the table saw. Just to make sure that this mold stays totally flat, I'm gonna pocket screw a couple of these extra pieces that I cut for braces under the bottom, just to make sure there's no sag in the middle. Every other epoxy project I've attempted, the world's deadliest stool, the fire guitar, the Shaoshugibon table, I've used Tyvek tape in the mold. And this is the first time I'm trying this paste wax method on the melamine. I've seen this done on a lot of channels before. I think probably one of the main ones that I saw this on was Michael Builds. I might even be doing this wrong. But anyway, apparently you put the paste wax on and then put black silicone in the corners. Now, I couldn't find black silicone. All I could find was almond silicone, and that'll have to work because at least that'll show up. And I think the reason why you do it this way, you put the wax on first, because that will allow you to put a nice bead of silicone in the corner and not have to wipe it out. And then the wax will allow you to peel the silicone off the extra easily. I think that's why you do this. Now apparently there's this really fancy ball bearing spreader that you can get, and I didn't have time to get one, so I'm just going to use my really fancy gloved finger, and hopefully that will work good enough. Alright, all of those are cut now, and I'm not gonna lie, it's a little sketchy at times because some of the thinner pieces are wanting to kind of split there at the ring. But anyway, the silicone is dried in the form, so let's try to peel out the excess silicone so we just have the clean corners. Working according to plan. Time for a test fit. I'm gonna be honest with you, it's looking pretty sweet. For this project, I'm gonna be using Total Boat epoxy. They actually sent me all these samples several months back, and my epoxy project just kept getting pushed back. But they sent me penetrating epoxy, tabletop epoxy, and thick set epoxy, as well as some mixing containers. This Total Boat epoxy is a 3-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to put 48 ounces and then finish taking it to 64 ounces with part B. And wow, that's a big difference in the viscosity. I'm just gonna kind of start pouring this in, because I don't care what the bottom of this looks like, and this is gonna be the bottom. Now the proper way to have done this, of course, would to have been to put a thin coat on each block and seal it and let that dry, but I ain't got time for that, okay? I mean, there's some little pinhole bubbles in here, but I'm gonna sand those out and we're gonna go ahead and give this another coat. Second coat is dry, it's looking amazing. Now I'm just gonna wipe it down with some of this, hold on. Hey Kim.
Yeah, babe.
What do you call this right here?
Isopropyl alcohol.
What?
Isopropyl alcohol?
Okay, that's what I thought, thanks. Yep, just like it says right there on the bottle. Isopropyl alcohol. This is my third mixing for this maybe last pour. I thought I might be pushing my luck by putting too much epoxy on here at one time and not just doing the proper layering. And guess what? I did. I pushed my luck too far. I forgot after I poured this that this was 3 times thicker than all the previous pours. And yeah, I didn't come check on it as often as I should have. And so I got all these bubbles. But you know what? We don't make mistakes around here. We have happy accidents. Shoot, I'm just gonna take some of this sandpaper here and I'm gonna sand this down. And then using the wet on dry technique, I'm gonna pour a thin layer of tabletop epoxy on top of this. And hopefully that'll fix this. Now if you find that your sandpaper is getting clogged, well, shoot. Just take it off and beat the devil out of it. It's my favorite part. Oh. Now that we've got it out of the mold, it's time to get brave. And maybe, yep. Right there. We're just gonna put a big old happy tree. I put down this green tape over all the bubbles that I want to hide, because next I'm gonna cover this with parchment paper. I tried using Sharpies and everything on the top here to mark out where the bubbles were, but no matter what I did, I couldn't see through the parchment paper or even tracing paper. So what I found best was putting the tape down over the bubbles, and then I can draw over those. I've drawn my shape onto the parchment paper. I've transferred the shape over to this MDF, and now I'm going to cut the pieces out of the MDF, and then I'm going to attach those pieces onto the desktop. 3 pieces down, 36 more to go. After I got all of the template pieces cut out, I went around the corners of the epoxy piece here because there was a little lip, and I sanded all of those down. Then I went over the whole piece with blue painter's tape, and now what I'm doing is gluing these pieces of my template down with CA glue super glue. And what I'm doing is just putting a drop of super glue onto the template piece, and then I'm spraying quick set spray down, the fast dry stuff, down on the blue tape. And hopefully that'll hold everything down nice and tight until I want to pull everything up, in which case the blue tape will release from the epoxy. That's the plan. My track record with epoxy and routers is not fantastic. So if this seems sketchy to you, well, that makes two of us. So far, working out perfect. These were the pieces that I was really concerned about, not these in particular, but all these little pieces. Hallelujah! After I finished routing out the tree section of the desktop, I went ahead and put a thin layer of the tabletop epoxy on it to seal up, kind of because I'd actually routed through to the wooden parts. And then I used some of what was left over from that, and I added some of this mica powder to it. And listen, I'm not an expert on how this stuff works, but I've used mica powder in the past, but not with epoxy. So I kind of started out with teal, then added a little bit of sea green to the teal, then added a little bit of grass green to that. And then in the end, I added some brilliant blue, and I think that's kind of the color I want to go for. Let's start out with some teal. Let's get a beautiful shot of that. Oh, that is pretty. I'll put links in the description to where I ordered this mica powder, and I just got this off of Amazon, and it was pretty inexpensive. Just dawned on me while I'm doing this that I forgot to level this table up.
My thoughts have never been clearer. I see what you're doing to me now. They lie, they steal, they fooled us. Deep down I probably knew that.
Look at this fool. Now this stuff was almost totally dry. You can see how hard it is. But he managed to come find it and walk through it. It's hard to see his little trail that he left. Hope it was worth it for him.
Lose our focus. The very same hands that formed us.
I've been a real bad boy on the town all night. Starting to calm down.
Now since I poured this in a dusty garage and workshop, I had tons of dust on the surface of this. So what I did was I went back over it and I sanded it, starting out with 400 grit and working my way all the way up to 5,000 grit. I also found that on the higher grits it actually worked better to do it by hand because it scratched it less. After wet sanding it, I went over the desktop with 4 grits of polishing compound.
I've been a real bad boy. No. Pretty Caroline.
And here's the final product. I gotta say, I am thrilled with the way it came out. It was a ton of work. This took me weeks to make. I just used legs that I ordered off the internet, and I'll provide links for those and everything else I used in this video. One of the reasons I chose the colors I did was because I wanted to coordinate with this painting that my dad did, because this desk was a gift from my mom. You may or may not have noticed that this tree also kind of looks like a butterfly wing, which was intentional because my mom also loves butterflies. Old clock on the wall tells me we're out of time. From all of us here, happy epoxying, God bless you, and we'll see you next time.